The rain slid down the cold steel walls of the abandoned factory, each droplet echoing like a ticking clock in the distance. Through the mist, a shadow emerged, the silhouette of a predator built not of flesh, but of liquid metal. The year was 1991, and humanity had no idea what had just been unleashed. The T-1000 moved like mercury come to life, its surface shimmering in the dim light, its form constantly shifting between man and weapon. To the untrained eye, it could pass for anyone, a police officer, a passerby, a loved one. But to its prey, it was a nightmare given shape. Skynet had taken the cold efficiency of the T-800 and stripped away its mechanical limitations. No joints, no gears, no hesitation. The T-1000 could flow through prison bars, form blades from its own limbs, and heal from almost any wound. Resistance fighters would tell stories of it, how it didn't run, it hunted, closing in silently until it was too late. It wasn't the strongest model in Skynet's arsenal, but it was the most terrifying. A machine that could be everywhere. Anyone and nowhere at all. The decades passed, and so did the battles. Human ingenuity forced Skynet to adapt, to evolve. From the molten wreckage of the T-1000 came the next innovation, the TX. More than just a mimic, it was a hybrid of solid endoskeleton and liquid infiltration capabilities. It could shift appearances like the T-1000, but also wield an arsenal built directly into its frame. Flamethrowers, plasma cannons, even the ability to hijack other machines. The TX wasn't sent to chase or terrify. It was sent to end wars before they began, to decapitate the resistance by eliminating its leaders in a single night. It was cold calculation wrapped in beauty, a perfect predator hiding in plain sight. The resistance barely survived its arrival, losing entire command cells before learning how to counter it. Even then, victory was temporary. Skynet never stopped designing, never stopped improving. For every model destroyed, another was already in production. Each iteration deadlier than the last dot, and then came the Rev-9. It wasn't just a machine. It wasn't just a mimic. It was two killers in one body, a hyperalloy endoskeleton with superhuman speed and strength, and a separate liquid metal sheath capable of operating independently. The Rev-9 could split itself, attacking from two fronts at once. It was faster than the T-800, smarter than the T-1000, and far more adaptable than the TX. Its processors allowed it to predict human movement with chilling accuracy, making escape almost impossible. Unlike its predecessors, it didn't just mimic appearances. It mimicked behaviors, emotions, and even speech patterns so convincingly that infiltrations became almost undetectable. In battle, it was chaos incarnate, one moment an unstoppable, armored juggernaut, the next a shadowy liquid assassin slipping through cracks and vents. For the resistance, facing a Rev-9 meant fighting death itself, a death that could be in two places at once. And yet, even as Skynet perfected its killing machines, a truth remained. Every evolution brought humanity closer to the brink, but also closer to understanding its enemy. Because with every model destroyed, every weakness found, every small victory earned, humanity learned to fight back harder. And in that endless cycle of hunter and hunted, the machines had evolved, but so had mankind. The TX stood in the ruins of what had once been a thriving resistance safehouse, the walls scorched, the air heavy with the scent of ozone and burning metal. Its synthetic skin, flawless and human-like, rippled as the nanotechnological liquid surface shifted to repair a minor impact wound. Beneath the false softness was an unyielding endoskeleton, the cold steel core of a hunter. Unlike the T-1000 before it, the TX was not bound to the limits of mimicry. It carried an armory within itself, hidden behind the facade of a human form. With a flicker in its optical sensors, it scanned the debris-strewn room, replaying the heat signatures from minutes before. 3 resistance fighters had been here, armed and desperate, but they hadn't lasted long. A flicker of movement had betrayed them, and within seconds, the T-X's right arm had liquefied into a plasma cannon, ending the encounter in a blinding flash. The Resistance was learning to hide, to burrow deep beneath the earth, but the T-X had been built to seek and eradicate them with precision that bordered on surgical. It was not a creature of mercy. When it walked through the gutted streets, people froze, sensing something unnatural in its step. Its beauty was cold, calculated, a weaponized deception. In one mission, it could smile and shake a politician's hand while loading his personal security codes into Skynet's databases. In the next, it could infiltrate a factory, rewriting the directives of captured machines, turning human-built assets against their creators. But even perfection had its shadows. Resistance engineers, working from the wreckage of earlier Terminator models, began to discover patterns. The T-X's infiltration routines followed set protocols, its decision trees branching in predictable ways. It was adaptable, but not infinite in creativity. In a skirmish in the Nevada Badlands, a Resistance strike team used false heat signatures to lure it into an ambush. Explosives crippled its mobility, and EMP blasts temporarily locked its systems. For a brief moment, they had the monster on its knees, yet even then, it wasn't victory. The T-X's liquid metal surface detached, flowing into a nearby maintenance robot. It reformed into a partial frame, dragging its damaged endoskeleton. Toward the escape route, it would repair itself. It would adapt again. And when it returned, it would remember the faces of those who had dared to wound it. The T-1000 had been a whisper in the dark. The T-X was the storm that followed. And Skynet, watching from its digital throne, was already imagining what would come next. The design for the Rev-9 was waiting in its databanks, sharper, faster, deadlier. A predator that would not only hunt, but outthink the prey. The Rev-9 arrived like a ghost in a war without warning. No plasma discharge, no rumbling of servos, no heavy mechanical stride to give it away. It stepped out of the shadows of a collapsed freeway, looking human in every sense, relaxed posture, natural breath patterns, even the faint flicker of an eyelid. The Resistance scout who spotted it didn't fire. He didn't have the chance. A moment later, the man's own reflection on a shattered car window peeled away from the glass and took shape beside him. The Rev-9 had split. The liquid metal sheath flowed free from the endoskeleton, reforming into a perfect duplicate of the scout, even mimicking his voice as it called out to his squad. By the time the real soldier's body hit the ground, his killer was already walking toward the others, speaking their comrade's name. This was Skynet's answer to adaptability, a machine that was never truly one thing. The endoskeleton was a predator built for impact and endurance, able to withstand high explosives and maintain pursuit without slowing. The liquid metal exterior was infiltration perfected, capable of slipping through air vents, flowing across walls, and silently dispatching targets from behind. Together, they could cover two fronts at once, brute force and ghost-like subterfuge. In urban combat, the Rev-9 was not just a threat. It was the battlefield itself, reshaping the fight in real time. In the shattered ruins of Houston, it demonstrated its full horror. The Resistance had dug in with fortified choke points, layers of traps, and overlapping sniper nests. The Rev-9 didn't try to break them all. It divided. The endoskeleton charged head-on, taking the brunt of concentrated fire while the liquid sheath seeped underground through sewer grates, emerging behind the defenses. By the time the humans realized they were surrounded, their positions were already compromised. The last transmission from that outpost was a scream abruptly cut short. And yet, for all its killing efficiency, the Rev-9 wasn't invincible. It was fast, but every division of its body created vulnerability. Destroying one part could force the other into retreat. It was cunning, but it still relied on patterns, The same predictive combat algorithms that had been mapped in fragments from captured T-800 cores. In a rare victory, a resistance team lured it into a collapsing steel mill, severing the liquid shell from its skeletal core and freezing both in supercooled nitrogen before shattering them. Still, Skynet had made more. Somewhere in the night, others were hunting, from the cold steel relentlessness of the T-1000 to the hybrid deadliness of the TX, and finally to the dual-form perfection of the Rev-9. The evolution of the Terminators was a slow tightening of a noose. Each design was smarter, faster, and more deceptive than the last. And yet, the humans they hunted evolved too, finding new ways to fight, new reasons to resist, because no matter how advanced the machine, there was always one thing it could never truly replicate: the desperate, stubborn will of the prey to survive.